I want to bring in our amazing panel. Our correspondent from Indianapolis and the host of Tony in the Morning News at WIBC in Indianapolis, our good buddy, the cigar smoking, Mr. Tony Katz. Our friend over at National Review, the staff writer there, Caroline Downey, and the host of Two Way Tonight's group chat, one of my favorite news shows with my buddy Dan Turntine, Batya Ungar-Sargon. Guys, good to see you all. So little to talk about this week. I don't even know where to start. Tony Katz, I know in Indianapolis it's very quiet and peaceful, but I got to be honest with you. This morning, something happened that blew my mind. Gavin Newsom posted on Twitter the California flag, like as if, and I'm like, that may be one of the most tone-deaf things. He's got people in his big city there, LA, flying the Mexican flag, trying to say F ICE, screw this country, they hate us, they're protesting us, and he just posts the California flag as if like that's like the solidarity movement.
First things first, things are far from silent in Indianapolis. We're up 2-1 over the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Pacers, with the destruction yesterday at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. We'll talk more about that. Foreshadowing. But
it's baseball season, you know. It's baseball season. Basketball's over.
That's great. You're adorable. The California story, though, as you're bringing up, I keep discussing on radio that there has to be an advantage to the political left saying we should be supportive of the illegal alien. We should be supportive of ICE not doing its job. We should be supportive of Immigration and Customs Enforcement and law enforcement having Molotov cocktails thrown at them, having bricks and concrete pieces thrown on their vehicles as they pass below a bridge. There has to be an advantage that they get from it. And one would think that they think there's an advantage of they're going to get voters from it. But they're not going to get the low propensity voter. They only turned out for Trump. They didn't even turn out for Republicans in the swing states. They're not going to be getting necessarily low information voters because who in the world is actually going to be paying attention to this when there are other subjects that crack that demographic even better? They don't get moderates. They don't get independents. They don't get women. They don't get men. Who exactly are they reaching out to? And the only thing left is they believe that somehow if they can magically get power and turn these people all into citizens, that's how they'll get voters. So their plan is burn it down in order to attain victory. It's the only math I can do, and I can't follow that math for the life of me. I don't know why Gavin Newsom can't do the same math I can.
Caroline Downey, to Tony's point, I agree with Tony. I'm like, what's the here's the weird dynamic that I can't get my head around, and maybe this is a guy thing, and Tony and I are on the same page. But if you're looking for voters, which ostensibly all politicians are, the people that you're appeasing can't vote. I mean, that's what I can't get my head around. I'm like, well, at least now, because I know the Democrats want them to vote. But I guess the thing is, I'm like, you're appeasing people who can't vote, who are waving flags that they don't want to be here.
Well, it's also, again, about this whole assimilation question. I can't think of anything less assimilating than waving the flag of the country from which you said was horrible and from which you wanted to go to our country, which is supposedly superior and was going to offer you a better quality of life. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And by creating a spectacle, a violent, riotous fanfare that is destructive and disruptive to traffic, to many low-income Californians trying to get to work. We saw the video footage of them blocking people on their morning commute. You know, you're going to be deported, more likely. You are going to be more of a target now than you were before. So that doesn't add up to me either. But I just want to say about this whole authoritarianism rhetoric that we're seeing from the media right now. My Uber driver in DC actually went on a diatribe about how Trump is a full-blown authoritarian for what he's doing in California. This is absurd. Under the first administration, Trump was very deferential to the states. He respected the 10th Amendment. He respected federalism. He wanted the states to take the lead on things that were of their domain. But Gavin Newsom has proven time and time again that he will let California and its cities burn and erupt into chaos at the detriment of the law-abiding citizens that already live there. And so Trump did what any good leader of the United States would do because he thinks we're a union. California, this whole solidarity thing is silly because California is still part of our country, even though they resist and they act like they're some rogue island. Trump's deploying the National Guard to, first of all, protect federal buildings, which is 100% justified. But beyond that, the anarchy was not going to be stopped under Newsom's watch because he's proven that he's a feckless and competent progressive leader.
Batya, before you respond, because I got a question for you, but just Caroline, how many stars did you give him?
The Uber driver? I didn't rate it yet, but I'm still debating because, it's free speech. But I was like, sir, I didn't sign up to be lectured right now. I signed up for you to get me from
I got to be honest with you. That's a 1 star. That's a 1 star.
No. Give him the 5 stars. Come on, this guy is working hard. Like you could have told him what you think. I actually have an answer to your question.
Hold on. No, Batya. Whoa. Slow your roll. Listen, I don't, with all due respect, I hope I didn't see us going here. If you listen, most of these guys are hustling. I agree with you. I get in a car, I want to go somewhere. I'm with Caroline in this. I don't need to be lectured about your view on anything unless I ask or you say, hey, sir, would you like to talk? But I don't mean to sound like some elitist snob, but I'm just saying that, to me, I don't want to go to a restaurant and I'm paying you for a service and I don't want to be lectured. So I'm sorry. I'm saying 1 star, maybe 2 if you're feeling generous. You say 5. Tony Katz, settle this.
0 stars, demand a refund, take Lyft.
All right, Batya, can I ask? You can go anywhere you want.
$50,000 a year.
But then that's fine. Look, here's my point. That's even more buttressing what I'm saying. If you're making $50,000-$60,000 driving an Uber, when I get into an Uber and the guy says, sir, would you like a cord? Would you like to charge? I've got some hand sanitizer in the back and with the water. I'm like, dude, I'm going to tip you above and beyond because you're doing your job. If I get in and get lectured about, to Caroline's point, I'm like, I'm sorry. I just needed a ride.
Caroline, how did it start? Did he really just start talking or did you say how did it start?
I'm afraid there was no prompt. I'm afraid we started chatting about DC and how he's liked living there. And then he starts going off about, he's going to put tanks in the street on June 14th to celebrate his birthday. None of this authoritarian crap. And this Uber driver apparently just got a job in one of the departments of the admin, but not it was a role that was not connected to the admin itself. It was one of these kind of peripheral roles. But I'm thinking to myself, why are you telling me this?
This is totally a free speech thing. You guys were already talking about DC, and he just brought up his opinion about something that was going to happen in DC in 2 days. Sorry, totally fair. I wouldn't tip because you were not happy with the service. I can go there, but I would give him 5 stars because he'll get penalized if you don't.
And maybe he'll learn his lesson. Drive your car. All right.
Wait. I want to answer the question you asked both Tony and Caroline. I actually have the answer to this. I'm so glad I'm here. As a person of the left who is on the left for a very long time, I actually know why they're doing it. It's not about the votes. It's not about citizenship. They actually don't want these people to become citizens. The reason they want them here as non-citizens is because the Democrats have become the party of the very rich and the very poor. And so their view of the economy is that they need a serf class to service them, to undercut the wages they would have had to pay an American to be their nanny or their landscaper or to clean their house. There was a time in, the 70s. I remember my grandmother complaining about this. She was a teacher and she said her entire salary went to pay her cleaning lady, who was a lovely Black woman named Emma, who lived in her home. And her entire salary that she made as a teacher, she paid to Emma, and they lived off of my grandfather's salary, because that is what it means to live in a society that actually has respect for the labor of the working class. There is an understanding that you have to pay them a living wage. Now, Democrats, when they became the party of the rich became addicted to cheap, low-wage, illegal labor, and they cannot stand the idea that they would have to pay a working class person anywhere close to what they make. And the reason for that is because they make so much more. If you get a college degree, you're one of these over-credentialed college elites in the top 10%, you have now priced the entire working class out of the housing market, out of good education market, out of the healthcare market, because you are the only consumer who can afford these necessities that have become luxuries. The whole thing is economic. They talk about immigration in moral terms or due process or compassion, but actually at the end of the day, they have lined their pockets with the proceeds of that open border, and they cannot stand the idea of giving that up.
So here's the response. First of all, I don't know you, Batya. It's our first time ever together, and it's a pleasure meeting you. I've been able to do the show with Caroline before. I love it when your mind shines. I hate it when your heart bleeds. You're wrong about the Uber driver. It's a very interesting conversation you're having about this. But if that is the case, right, that's an emotional argument, and we can argue that the left is all emotional arguments, but it's a zero-sum game. They don't ever get to the place that they want. They have to get more frenetic. They have to get more lost. They have to get more angry. They have to allow for more violence. This eventually gets them to zero, right?
No. You're totally wrong. The economy that we have right now, in which there are 20 million illegals in 10 industries, which have radically undercut the American working class in those industries and made it very cheap and put money in the pockets of the elites. That economy, that's the economy we have right now. They've already totally succeeded. So that for 50 years, they were building this economy, by the way, with a lot of help from the Rhino version of the Republican Party, right? Everybody loved the open border because it made rich people much richer and made working class people much poorer, right? There was just a redistribution upward, an upward funnel of wealth. So we are already living in the success of their pillaging of the middle class. What they're saying right now is, Trump, don't you dare change this. Like, everybody's happy with the status quo. Just let us have our illegals because they work in our homes. We pick them up at Home Depot to do all of the drywalling. We don't have to pay an American a living wage. Like, they are very happy with the status quo, but they already totally succeeded in destroying the working class and making themselves rich.
My point only was that for them politically, it's a zero-sum game because they keep losing elections. That would be my argument.
Completely agree with you on the politics. Yes.
Some corroboration for what Batya is saying. It hit me when I was scrolling through social media and I saw Kim Kardashian's tone-deaf statement about deportations. Well, she said it's not just criminals and illegal aliens accused of horrific offenses. It's regular, hardworking legal aliens. And I thought to myself, so they must be working in your house. They must be working in your house, right? Like, I don't see why else you would care, because this pearl clutching and humanitarian kumbaya stuff, I mean, I don't see how it actually affects them directly. I mean, they're already in a bubble liberal cocoon in these very affluent enclaves of California. They're not affected by what the working class of California has to deal with. They're not competing for those jobs. So they must benefit from their low-skilled labor on their, maybe it's manicuring their lawns, maybe it's their hedges, but I'm sure they have a personal interest in that.
Yeah, I first of all, I've got a total interesting other angle. I think part of the reason the Dems like them in here is that they count for reapportionment. So that also helps them get more seats in California. But I agree with you. These guys, they want the cheap labor. They want the help. And so that by defending them, they're doing this. And it's interesting to me because I've said this over and over again. This is the default of the left. Like, well, we need them. And my answer to them is, okay, well then which laws are okay to break? I just want to know, give me a scorecard here, because if it's okay, as long as you need them, if that's the answer, if we need someone to come into this country to pick stuff, to fix stuff, and then therefore that's okay. You could break our laws if we need you to do some kind of economic benefit to our society. Then what other laws can we break? Is it okay, like, if to roll down, break the speed limit if you're in pursuit of making money as opposed to joyriding? Like, it's funny how the left justifies this. We can't possibly go without these people because I need them to be my nanny, to mow my lawn, to fix someone. I think Batya is right. It's funny how little they actually care about making them citizens anymore. And so let me just sort of throw this last question out on this topic before we move on. How does this end? Because one, I wonder, do Republicans capitalize on this? I am a big believer that, and I said this to Newt Gingrich the other day, everyone always wants to say, we got to get a path to citizenship. And I say, no. We need a path to legalization, meaning permanent residency. I don't mind counting them, but the reward shouldn't be you get to be a citizen and vote. It should be, I don't mind maybe codifying it. It's like, okay, the people who've been in the country through no fault of their own, the dreamers or whatever, will let you stay legally, but you're not a citizen. But I do think that there's a greater existential debate about why is it so wrong to believe that you should follow the law? And so I guess the question, Batya, is we're at this point, night 3 of curfews, barring some existential other big event that overtakes this one. How does this end? Is it just peter out, or do we escalate?
I think that's a great question. I love the way you phrase that, Sean. I want to point out there's a real difference between this bout of civil unrest and the BLM, Black Lives Matter movement. Those riots got stronger and stronger and bigger and bigger. And these are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think the reason for that is that the American people are like the most wonderful, tolerant people on planet Earth. And so when they start hearing, oh, Black Lives Matter, Black people are being mowed down in the streets by the cops, there is this natural feeling of like, oh God, is that true? Like, that's horrible. Like, that's a unifying, the idea that that should not happen is a unifying sentiment in America. Now, turns out it's not happening. Turns out the organization that was organizing the riots was bad, but it got bigger and bigger because of the desire that is ubiquitous across this nation to have overcome the sins of our past on the racial front. And we had a difference of opinion about like, have we overcome them yet or not? This is the opposite. This is not on behalf of the American people. It's not on behalf of Americans. It is on behalf of foreigners who broke our laws to get here. And I've been having conversations like at the soup kitchen, the manager there, or this morning at the gym, a guy who drives trains. These people they're all Democrats, and they're all saying to me, like, I just don't get it. Like, they broke the laws. You're standing for people who broke the laws. It makes no sense. I just want to make one more point, which is, that you hear this a lot from both the left and the right, that these people are coming here to do jobs Americans won't do, right? It's just like, who's going to pick the crops, right? Nancy Pelosi said. You do hear this even still from a lot of people on the right who want to give these people like work permits, for example. Do you know how many industries in America are a majority done by illegal migrant labor? The answer is zero.
Zero.
The percentage of people in agriculture, picking crops, who are non-citizens, 28%, meaning that every single industry in America is done a majority by our fellow citizens. And it is so disgusting to say these jobs are beneath an American when millions of our fellow Americans are doing them. Like, how horrifying to speak about people who work, by the way, so much harder than the people who make this point. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there again. I think it's a very important point to stress.
Caroline,
I didn't answer your question, but somebody else.
But Caroline, the thing that's so interesting is I find that the point that Batya brings up at the end is when Nancy Pelosi says, who else is going to do this? It's as if, like, instead of normally the Democrats are like, we want to empower these people. They're like, we need these lesser people to pick our stuff. It actually is a really demeaning statement what the Democrats think of these people, which is we need them to do these menial tasks that us, people, we won't do, the elite.
It is truly, honestly, there's a lot of white savior complex in that with the identity politics front as well. They apply the same logic, which is we need DEI. We need to give these minority candidates a level up because otherwise they will not perform. And otherwise they will not qualify for any of these roles or any of these spots at the universities. So it's implying that they are in fact incapable. It's the same kind of thinking. Similarly, they do want a permanent underclass, like Batya was saying, to do the jobs that supposedly no Americans will do. But I don't know if they've ever asked many Americans, but I think there's definitely a lot of people who would. But beyond that, to your initial question about, remind me what your initial question was, actually, because I want to.
I'm just saying that I think it's demeaning the way that the Democrats speak of these people as if they're second-class citizens, not even second-class citizens.
You asked where this is going. Right. So yes. I don't think this is going to be this like continual standoff in the streets, like the Summer of Love. Like Batya said, I think it's kind of got a natural expiration date because it really does not concern what's actually happening to the American people. It's an offshore issue that we are now dealing with. But what I do think it's going to be is a classic standoff between the federal government and the states. And I think the question here is the federal government in fact sovereign? Does the federal government have the plenary power over immigration? When, facilities are being attacked, when ICE agents who are just doing their job, hardworking ICE agents are being villainized and attacked physically, who does the federal government have the right to intervene and stop that? It's very simple. And we know that sanctuary city policies are technically allowed insofar as states and localities can refuse to cooperate with ICE. They don't want to expend, their resources to help with deportations or the detainment of illegal aliens. That's fine. Although it is, in my opinion, an affront to the republic that sanctuary cities exist. However, can they obstruct ICE? Can they block ICE? Can they make it impossible for them to carry out their duties? That's a whole different question. And so that's what's happening in California. And so when Trump says, could Newsom be jailed? I mean, frankly, a lot of these mayors, these, governors, if they are on the side of blocking ICE, they are no longer doing what is allowed. That they are violating federal law. And as Tom Homan said at the beginning of this administration, they could be prosecuted. They could be prosecuted for what they're doing.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.